I want to see as success for my business is that how many people I can contribute to so they also live in good health.
That's a good strategy. Okay, I'm here today with Kosta. He is the owner of Kosta's Kitchen. Would you please introduce your business?
Sure, thanks, Italo. So Kosta's Kitchen is a business that is built to help people heal using methods of Ayurveda and changing diet and lifestyle.
That's interesting. Would you say that word one more time?
So Ayurveda.
Ayurveda. And
Ayurveda.
can you explain? Because I did a little bit of research before our talk today, but can you explain to everyone watching and listening what is Ayurveda?
Yeah, you got it. So Ayurveda is an ancient holistic science. So the name Ayurveda is a Sanskrit term, which is showing that its roots are in India.
It's an Indian, what would you call it? An Indian practice of healing?
I guess you could call it that. So it's more like a lifestyle science.
Lifestyle science.
Yeah, it looks at the effects of everything in our lives. So not just our food, but our daily routines, seasonal, our mental, emotional, and our spiritual connection.
That's very interesting. How did you learn about it? How did you get involved with this?
Kind of found it. Oh, it found me maybe at the same time. I had been traveling for quite a while. I had traveled around the Northern Hemisphere. So from Indonesia, Japan, going through China, Mongolia, Russia, across a little bit of Europe, and I ended up down in Guatemala.
Guatemala. Which country you would say was when you first heard, or maybe there was the country that really had that touch you and really jump into this lifestyle?
I think it was after my time in Guatemala. So I had a few health experiences there. I had been diving off cliffs into the water, and in some of the local lakes, the water quality is not always that great. And there's some parasites that live there. So I was very lucky to receive one in my body and spend a few days very, very ill.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, I went back to Australia and realized like things were just a little bit off. Like food I was eating, just the way I was feeling, just things weren't sitting right. And so I started down this pathway of exploring like what natural methods are available to get me back into like a vibrant, energetic health. Yeah.
That's interesting. So how did you come about after leaving that lifestyle, changing your health and everything in your life? How do you go about turning that into a business? What was the idea behind it?
When I was in Okinawa, so after I did that traveling and started studying Ayurveda, I was really curious about traveling in Japan again. So I made my way to Okinawa and just fell in love with the place. So from there, I went to a lot of events that were connected with food, connected with community and music as well. And I often went there as a consumer. And I thought, hey, I'm building these skills. I've actually got something to offer, something that has actually been changing my life in a really nice way. I want to go there and contribute. So I didn't want to go as a consumer anymore. So I just decided, okay, that's enough going there just as a guest. I want to go there and have something to offer.
And how long have you started the business? Or how long have you officially offering your services as a business? How long has that been?
So that started in 2021. So it's just ticked on 4 years. Initially, it started as a food business.
Explain a little more. What kind of food business was that?
So mostly it was about presenting interesting meals that use all the local Okinawan produce, use the wisdom of Ayurveda and like how you would put it together, how you would cook it to support digestion and energy in the body. And then my roots are Greek. I love using like Greek herbs and spices and adding in that kind of flavor.
Very nice.
It was a very sort of fusion kind of cuisine.
I love Greek food.
What kind of Greek food do you like?
I can't pronounce the names, but I just like it's just a healthier option. So whatever, every time I see Greek food, I try to eat whatever it's available. But I like the herbs. It's just healthy. It just feels healthy, not like Brazilian food.
Oh, really? Other Brazilian food has this. I mean, I hear there's like a lot of meaty foods, but there's also
very
like a lot
heavy, very hard. Yeah. So I understand you're going through some changes in your business. You start with the food only, but now you're transitioning more into a whole package, not only with food, but what else is included in your business services? What else you offer aside from the food?
So initially, I noticed people getting a lot of benefits out of the food, but I thought, what's something that can help them beyond one meal? And so I started teaching people about Ayurvedic cooking. And then at that same time, I had taken on a 3-year Ayurvedic health counselor course. And so as I was progressing through that program, I realized I can actually guide people on what I know. And one of my teachers in Australia said to me, the best way to progress is to teach what you need to learn.
It's true. That's true.
So I was trying to put that into practice. I started offering health consultations, looking at the diet and lifestyle aspect, because that's what I was already deeply immersed in. And then as that expanded, I offered more workshops. So now it's mostly a mix between workshops and then month to 3 month long programs.
Do you find that your customers are people who are really experience some challenges in their lives, or do you think people are just thinking ahead and acting to prevent anything from happening to them? What would you say are the most common clients?
Oh, I would say it's definitely people who are having a little bit of a health experience. It's either something that's been causing them a little bit of trouble for a period of time, and they've made the decision that I want to change this. I want to feel healthy and well. And so then they start to look for information that makes that pathway clearer. There's less people who are coming to me who are looking for like preventative health methods.
And that makes absolute sense, because in marketing, preventive marketing does not work as well as help me now. I need help right now. So I've had customers in the past that were, let's say, an air conditioning company. Every marketing that they did on preventing the maintenance of your air conditioning before it breaks, it was never as successful as we can fix your AC if it's broken type of campaign. The marketing is definitely, we, as humans, we don't think about the problem until we're facing the problem.
Unfortunately, like I come from a background in engineering.
Okay.
And I worked for a 24/7 manufacturing company.
And that's in Australia?
In Australia. Company is global business, but we looked after Asia Pacific. And I was trying to sell the factories predictive and preventative maintenance measures. So we'd be monitoring machines and making sure, like, if the condition was getting worse, to plan the maintenance before things fell apart and they had to go into big downtime losses. Initially,
how did that work?
It's a very hard sell.
Hard sell.
You want me to spend what money to do this program? So, but then when you actually get a lead in with somebody who they can see the potential benefit, and then they feel the pain of that downtime outage, and the cost.
That's usually when it's effective. You had someone who experienced that. Now they're not going to let that happen again.
Right. Yeah. But sometimes with the health, it can be a little bit less forgiving. So you don't really want someone to have to experience that big impact in their health. But at the same time, everyone's got their limits until that pain is enough for them to take action.
That's an interesting business you're in right now. But it's becoming really popular. I see more and more people, concerned about their health. There's less people consuming alcohol, less people smoking. I've heard of this, rather than having a techno party, a rave party with alcohol, and we're having that kind of party with workout and meditation. Have you heard of anything like that?
Yeah.
I heard that getting really popular.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of starting one here.
I think it's a great idea. I think that's actually a really good idea because, the newer generations, they're not really into smoking. Like the older generations weren't drinking alcohol. I think wine consumption is going down, things like that. So overall in the world, I think there's a big shift now towards being healthy. I think you got a great opportunity. And Okinawa is known as, that blue zone in Okinawa is known as the place where there's the most number of people, over 100 in the world or something like that. People live the longest in Okinawa. And that has to do with the type of food they eat here. So for you to be offering your services, but using the Okinawan ingredients, that should be real beneficial. I can see that being a big.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I try to tap into the local knowledge too and talk to a lot of the older generations, because there is a little bit of a gap where if you talk to people in, let's say, their 40s or 50s now, a lot of that was just part of their normal life. So they didn't really understand why they ate that way, or they didn't really connect the dots. But the older people sort of had a little bit more of an, attunement to the nature they were living in.
Right.
And so hearing about not just their food, but what they're doing day to day, how their community, connection works, all those points are really, really powerful in building.
That was definitely something interesting that I learned when I moved here. Started learning more about the Okinawan culture, is how their lifestyle is having a tremendous positive impact on their life expectancy rate. And that's really fantastic. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. I know you're from Australia and you have an interesting journey before you got to Okinawa. Right? Were you biking through Japan? Is that what you did? Tell us a little more about it.
So actually, when I was in Guatemala, I know this goes back a couple of steps, I was thinking about traveling to Japan again. And I had some unfinished business. I wanted to climb Mount Fuji. And so, I thought, okay, well, I'm here. I'm on my own. I'm going to have a go anyway. So I started climbing. The weather got really bad. So I got about 80%, 85% of the way out. And then it was just, the rain was sideways. It was just covered in clouds. And I thought, I can't see where I'm going. There's no shelter. Anyway, so cut a long story short, I woke up one morning super clear. I'm going to go back to Japan, not just to climb Mount Fuji, but I don't want to take the trains. I don't want to take the buses. I want to use my own energy to go to places, and I want to go off the beaten track a bit. So I thought, well, take a bicycle, put some camping gear on, and just ride freely, go.
So that's some pretty interesting adventure.
Yeah, it was.
So where did you start that journey?
So I started at Tokyo Haneda Airport, and it was funny because I didn't hear about this Japanese TV show called, it's like, You Wa Nani Shi Nihon E? Which is like, what are you doing in Japan? Anyway, they interview all these foreigners at the airport and to say like, what are you doing in Japan? And then they're following along with the camera team. I went to the wrong airport, so they weren't there. The ladies from Thai Airlines helped me put my bike together in the airport.
Nice.
They held it for me as I was pumping up tires, and then put my luggage on and just started cycling out.
That's very interesting. So you at the airport in Tokyo, your bike's ready, everything, it's loaded, and then you pedal where? What's the first stop?
So the first stop, I go out to Yokohama to see a friend of mine.
Okay.
And then I start going out towards Hakone, which is a huge mountain with beautiful hot springs. Yeah, there's no training like the real thing. Like when you're out here cycling up those mountains, it didn't matter how much prep I did in Australia. Melbourne is a very flat city relative to Japan.
I can only imagine.
And put an extra 30 kilos on the back of the bike, and
Right.
yeah, my legs will never forget.
How long was that? Were you going uphill?
Too long, but actually the downhill afterwards is absolutely worth it.
Nice.
Just flying down from Hakone, passing cars, going down to this beautiful area called Izu. It just feels this sense of freedom.
That sounds fun. That sounds tough, but sounds fun. So how long were you biking around Japan before you got to Okinawa?
Overall, it was about 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah. So I didn't have a strict like cycling schedule. I really had some open time to like go with the flow. And if I found a place that I really enjoyed and met some interesting people, I would stay a little bit. Sometimes also like after days and days of cycling, your body just needs to chill out and
I would imagine so.
refeed a little bit, replenish the energy stores, and then you can sort of keep going again.
Great. And then did you fly to Okinawa or did you come on a boat?
I took the boat from Kagoshima.
Kagoshima.
Yeah, so that's nearly the southernmost point in Kyushu Island, and there's a 26-hour boat ride.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, which costs as much as a flight, but actually,
Oh, really? I thought it would be much cheaper.
it's not at all. I think because it takes so long and you can put so much on the boat, so there's
Oh, I see.
a lot of
You
benefits
can
to it.
bring.
So you don't have to pack your bicycle down into a box or anything to go on the boat. Whereas to fly, everything's got to get broken down, packed in boxes, and I really didn't want to do that.
All right.
I thought, no, I'm happy just to chill out, sleep on the boat one night, and just arrive in Okinawa, a more leisurely pace.
I mean, arguably much better than the previous place you had to sleep in, I would imagine.
Yeah, sometimes it was a little dicey.
Setting up a tent, maybe it was raining.
There was one time at one of the ferry ports where a typhoon was coming, and I missed the timing to get on the boat. And then they said to me, well, you can't stay here in the terminal. You're going to have to go somewhere. And I'm trying to look on my map, like what's available, for accommodation. And there's nothing within 20 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking, there's a typhoon coming, huge terminal building. The guys won't let me stay there. And I'm looking at the nearby toilet lock thinking, is that my room for tonight?
Oh,
Am I going to have to sleep in some concrete toilet block just to be safe?
is that what happened?
So actually, no, luckily enough, there was an older lady who lived nearby. And as I was cycling past, I noticed her little house and she had a little sign on it. So I think she sometimes rented it out.
Oh, no.
And she said, it's not really open, but you've got nowhere to stay. You can stay here. And if you want, you can pay me next time.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
So yeah, the next morning after the typhoon passed, I cycled down to the next 7-Eleven, got some money out of the ATM, came back.
That's nice. Things happen for a reason. So then, to pay the lady for the hospitality, you got on the boat and you came to Okinawa. How did you start settling down in Okinawa? Walk me through did you find a place to rent? What were the first things you did after you decided, I'm going to stay here?
So initially, I got into the ferry port in Naha the more industrial one. It's not the tourist one. And I just made my way towards like a guest house in Nahan town. From there, I sort of stayed for a few days, but the timing was really good because there were a lot of little festivals and things happening nearby. So I managed to connect to a lot of people really quickly just by being there. People were curious. They're like, oh, where are you from? What are you doing? Sometimes they see me with a bicycle and they're like, are you traveling around? And so it opened up a lot of conversations. And then from there, I said, well, this is kind of what I'm interested in. This is what I'm looking to do. I don't know if it's something in the Okinawan culture or not, but as soon as people hear about what you're interested in, if they know somebody or something that comes to mind, hey, let's connect. Let's go straight away. So the connections were super, super fast. I only stayed 3 weeks at that time. And then I was going back to Australia to hold a surprise 60th birthday for my dad. But I had decided I need to come back and explore Okinawa a little more deeply. And so I came back on a working holiday visa. So I didn't stay initially. I went back, came back on a working holiday. And then in that time, found a place to rent, job. And then after a little while, it took a little bit more time to then start my business.
And so now we're back to the business topic. What kind of challenges did you face in the very beginning to get the business going here in Okinawa?
It was actually, firstly, I was running it all in Japanese. So as I had learned a little bit of Japanese in my previous working holiday time, I thought, well, I'm just going to supply to the Japanese audience, to that market. And organizing events and getting to a lot of deeper business-related discussions was really hard with the Japanese that I had at the time. So a lot of it was very organic, but it was really hard to build consistency and regularity. So I had to then pick up my language skills and also get a bit more proactive in finding places I could do pop-up events that understand ways I could
and then focusing more on the food side.
Yeah, so I think at that time, it was really probably more reliant on my network of people that I knew. So the connections that I had and people who understood what I was already doing and valued it and wanted to support. So a lot of friends said, hey, I've got a shop here in Futenma. If you'd like, come on Wednesdays and offer meals.
Nice.
And so they were really kind to support that.
So then do you have a lot of American customers? I don't know if you know how many Americans are here in Okinawa.
Is it nearly 100,000?
It's about half of that. It's about 50,000.
50,000. Okay.
I think it's about 50,000.
Yeah.
So great market for, if you can speak English, which you do. That's actually a really good market, especially because a lot of Americans that are into that healthy lifestyle, if they don't speak Japanese, which most don't, they're very limited on who can they go and get that service from. So that's definitely a good opportunity. Not only Americans, a lot of Australians, a lot of people from England, and just really anyone who speaks English in Okinawa. There's quite a lot of residents that speak little Japanese like myself. Some Japanese, but still rely on English to live here. So that could be definitely a good market for you.
Yeah, I started shifting this year. So I was running most of my workshops in Japanese, particularly cooking workshops, and then understanding more Ayurvedic knowledge so they could connect with their own health experiences. And then I started doing half of them in English. So I started to build a little bit more of an English following. But I've realized with social media, it's very hard to do dual language. Yes. So that's been a bit of a challenge of now deciding, well, do I now create another social media account and have that one purely focused in English? And then have my current one focused in Japanese? Or what's the pathway forward? Do I completely focus on...
I would recommend not splitting, having only one.
Okay.
You want to kind of identify your ideal customer. Does your ideal customer, whether they're Japanese or American, are they comfortable with the Japanese language? Because then you can do all the voice in one language and subtitles in the other language. So if they are... A lot of Okinawans can speak some English. Maybe not fluent, but I'll say better than my Japanese. So they can understand most of the conversation in English, but then if you have subtitles in Japanese, now they can understand the whole conversation and they're still picking up on English stuff.
Okay.
Because unless they are completely against learning not the language, learning English, which most of them say are not, that might be a good niche that you have things in English with Japanese subtitles, or you do the other way around. You do in Japanese with English subtitles, and maybe you can throw English words, but I think splitting your account might not be ideal.
Yeah, I think it's not quite at that point yet where there's enough people to really split it off and create something separate.
Yeah, I think keeping one. But I find that if you do things in English with Japanese subtitles, or if you do in English and you throw in a lot of Japanese in the conversation, the Japanese watching, they feel a connection with the Japanese, but they also feel like they're learning English and it's something that they're interested in. So that could be just an interesting thing on its own, just the language itself. And then the content, what you're talking about, it's something that they're already interested in. So that could be, just an extra.
Okay. That's interesting. That's something to try for sure.
So talking about, your customers, and I hope you don't mind talking about this. What would someone actually pay? What would be the cost for someone who say, do you know what? I am facing some health issues. What would it cost? Is it something that's gonna be hard for, someone to jump in and get going, similar to, let's say, a massage, right? You want to get massages. They can get quite expensive if you want a few times a week. What would the cost be for your services if you're recommending to someone who's currently having health issues?
Okay. So I have sort of 3 scales available. So one in my workshops, they're around $40.
Mm-hmm.
And they give you a bit of insight and a physical, practical experience. But what I found after doing a lot of workshops this year was that to really integrate and to really get the benefits, it takes more time and more consistency. And then also a bit of feedback, not just like from your body, but from somebody who understands how this practice works, because it's very holistic. So a lot of people try to apply kind of logical linear thinking that they're used to from maybe schooling, which doesn't always work. We've got to look at all of the things that we're doing and then see if I'm pushing something this way. It's a web of connections. Everything is getting moved around.
And that's why you recommend about 3 months. So that's about how long it would take for you to figure out, or with them figure out.
So initially we'd start with a month, and then I suggest for 3 months, because through the Ayurveda, I just understood that like what we eat today will take 5 to 7 days to start becoming our plasma and carries the blood. And then another 5 to 7 days to be further digested into blood cells, muscle, fat, bone marrow, and then reproductive tissue. So it's nearly like 60 days to go through all of the body tissues. So if people stop their practicing and consistency before that time, they haven't truly felt the benefits. So like with anything, even with the training program, if you want to go and build muscle at the gym, you might start to feel a little bit weak after training initially.
Right.
Start to feel pretty good. But a lot of other people won't really notice it until around like 2 to 3 months.
Right, that's correct.
So it's kind of similar to that. So initially in the first month, we start to prepare with a lot of knowledge and a lot of practice together. Mm-hmm. And then in the second and third months, we look at just how we can be integrating, what's getting in the way, and then just looking at habit, mindset, and the other mental emotional connection. So the month package is $197.
$197.
And then if you would like to do that privately, it's $597.
Okay.
And so that's just completely one-off.
So $197 is in a group setting?
Yeah, in a small group. So around 6 people.
And then $597 for the month. And then you recommend for 3 months. So doing that for 3 months until you truly understand what direction or what kind of path you should be focusing on.
Yes. So it's a lot of programs are telling people maps. Like you need to do this protocol to get healthy. But Ayurveda looks at everybody's body as individual and unique. So what we have to do is not just have a bit of a map. We've got to build that navigational skill so that when we go off the map, we know what to do to create our balance.
That makes sense. So it's about 600 to maybe a couple thousand. It's a cheap price to pay if you're looking for living the rest of your life and changing your lifestyle, right?
Actually, yes.
Right. If you're looking at what's costing me now, you might think, oh, that's a bit too much, especially if you don't earn as much money. But if you look at it from the long-term perspective, 10, 20, 30, 40 years that you're still going to live, that's actually not expensive. Right?
Actually, I think it's a very affordable program. If you look at what you're gaining is this knowledge and connection to your body that's going to carry you through for the rest of your life. So it's not that little detox protocol or something that you do initially and feel better, but then fall back into old patterns. It's a real transformational shift.
Let me ask you more into business, pricing strategy. Do you know of other people in Okinawa that offer similar type of service? And if you do know, how does your price compare to theirs?
I don't know someone who's offering a similar package.
In Okinawa or
Okinawa.
Just on the internet, probably. Yeah. I'd say people are something similar. Have you looked at what pricing they charge and where your position compared to, the pricing and the service? How would you compare yourself with?
Yeah, so the closest things I saw in Okinawa, if you were going for, let's say, regular treatment for either that's like massage or acupuncture or nutritionist, acupuncture can be relatively inexpensive,
Okay.
but you're constantly relying on an external source for your health. And a lot of people are not making the connections with what they're doing in their diet and lifestyle to the results they're experiencing. So then if they continue on the same patterns, well, it's almost like you will forever need the acupuncturist. And I think there are definitely useful times for those services, and I enjoy those as well. And sometimes it's nice to have somebody else look after you a little bit too.
Right.
But then as well, nutritionists and that, they give you some great knowledge too, but it's then how you connect that with your body, your habits, your mindset.
I think for the nutrition, they don't look at your body as being as unique as your services normally would identify what would be the best fit for you based on your body composition, right? I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you have a little bit more flexibility with being Australian, having the Greek roots, and then tapping into the rest of the world.
Yeah, it's been really, I'm really grateful to be able to have connected with those different places and people. And it's really interesting because if you look at the older generation of Okinawans who had a lot of centenarians, there's a lot of things in modern nutrition saying like, if you don't eat these foods, you won't be in good health. But a lot of those foods don't even grow here. A lot of people like never had such foods in their diet and yet lived very healthily until an old age. With good mobility, clear mind. So it was more than just what you eat.
There's a lot more than just what you eat. For the Okinawan healthy lifestyle. It's as little as your morning exercise, walks, and the friendship, long-term friendships. I think that's also a big factor in the centenarians, right? That's what they're called.
Yeah. But to get back to your point about the pricing strategy, so the other things I looked at were some online programs, and the difference, they were much more expensive for the first month. And then to go into private mentorship or consulting per hour, it's much more expensive.
Right.
So I'm trying to make it more available also because of the local, it's very different like financial demographic in Okinawa too.
Right.
So I don't want to put it out of the range of everyone, but also show that this is really valuable knowledge and I'm going to work with you because if you don't win, if you don't succeed in getting it, then it's not a success for me. So what I want to see as success for my business is that how many people I can contribute to so they also live in good health.
That's a good strategy. I think you're on the right path. Thinking about the future, let's say 10 years from now, where do you see your business? Where do you see yourself? Where would you like to take your business?
Okay. So
It's an interesting question.
I do have a vision of having a physical space. And there's a lot of amazing nature in Okinawa. And one of the things that I noticed in my own journey, my own sort of healing, was this ability to be in these beautiful spaces here and just slow down. And so I want to kind of create that space where people can come, they can slow down, they can connect with some knowledge, they can have this physical experience with their body, and then they can also have a place to practice. But not just that. I noticed I have a 2-year-old boy, and I noticed when at the daycare with the other kids, how they naturally just want to teach each other what they're learning. And it's so beautiful. And I thought, what if these kids are actually learning things about their body, about their breath, about nature, about growing food, just like simple things that you need to use daily that they'll probably want to teach each other. So there could be this nice program for adults, for us to sort of go and connect and reconnect with ourselves, for our kids to learn something, and for them to have that chance to teach and help other kids grow.
I think that's how my daughters, and this is a Japanese school, I've noticed they have a lot of that, especially in the younger age. The education is really focused more on collaboration, on building your social skills rather than trying to learn a specific subject. And I love that about Japan.
It's a really powerful point. There's more of this community connection aspect, and we kind of all grow together. It can be difficult sometimes for like individuality to be more expressed, but I think now there is a bit more room for that, and that the individual can also lift up the group.
I agree. So for your location, have you thought of where in Okinawa you would like to be, or are you basically open to the best opportunities?
Well, there's a bit of both, but I also, I had found a place here in Yomitan
Okay.
that felt like this Jurassic Park of kind of nature reserve that was inside a valley, had its own little water supply, had a few, what would you call them? They're almost like log cabins. And there's a bit of area to grow food and just some nice clearings where I could hold beautiful events there.
Nice.
But if it's not available, then I want to look further north. So yeah, Ogimi, or I guess they would say Hokubu, they're just the north part of Okinawa.
For me, it would be extremely beneficial because of that's where the blue zone, that's where that Netflix, I haven't seen it, but that's where everyone keeps talking about is the blue zone. And that was filmed in Ogimi.
Oh, right.
So you already have that, for the international travelers, for the international customers. It could be, and that's where I'm at over there as well, in the northern area, in the Higashi village. Definitely some beautiful spots over there.
Yeah, the nature is incredible there. So I always love traveling out there, sometimes to go to some waterfalls or just to chill out.
Yeah, it's beautiful up there. I lived in the Higashi area for a little over a year.
Okay, that's still an area I haven't explored.
It was interesting, a bit challenging for, coming from the city.
Okay.
But very quiet, very quiet. The only noise we would get is the frogs. And that's about it. No cars, no honking, no nothing.
I had left just before COVID started, and I was in Australia for 2020. And then I came back in 2021. And where we live in Yomitan, that's a fairly quiet area. And at that time, there's no tourists. So the population is probably halved. And a lot of my old farmer friends were saying, oh, this is like 1970s Okinawa now. There's no traffic. It's easy to get around, but it was super quiet. It was almost too quiet initially, where I felt like, oh, I'm isolated. I'm a bit disconnected. And I was very much used to like a more active, engaging community. But initially it was a little bit tricky coming back.
Takes definitely some time to get used to the Okinawa life, I'll say. But it's a good thing. Once you get used to it, you probably don't want to change it ever. Yeah. Well, Kosta, to wrap up, I want to just promote your business a little bit. What's your Instagram? What's your, I know you have a website coming up, but this will be on YouTube. So for many, many months and years to come, people will be watching us, hopefully. What's your Instagram? What's your website? Did you bring anything you want to share? I don't know if you had a chance to bring anything to share that's related to your business, to your work. But it's your turn now. It's the show.
Yeah.
All yours.
Okay. Well, for people watching, they can find my account on Kosta's Kitchen. It's with a K. So Kosta. And on there is where you can connect with a lot of my content. So you can find out about my upcoming programs. So I usually run those at the start of the month and then kind of close the group until we sort of finish through that program. So those are available. Then there's monthly workshops as well. And you can reach out pretty much anytime through direct message if you're interested to just find out a little bit more about what I do, see how it could be a good fit for you. And then we can always work something out from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, did you have anything else to share?
Do I have anything else to share? I think that's it.
Okay. Well,
I actually want to share something. It's my business card, mostly like the logo that I use for my business. And I usually will have something hanging up at my events.
It's called the Greek eye.
So they call it the evil eye, and it's in Turkish culture as well as Greek culture.
Okay.
And you can kind of find it across the Middle East as well.
It's really popular in Brazil.
Oh, really?
It is.
Okay.
I've seen that in several places in Brazil, yes.
Okay. So the way this was explained to me was that this is something that if people give you the evil eye, so it's not always a bad intention. Sometimes people can be admiring you, or they can be a little bit jealous of you, or they could be really like, I don't like that guy. The idea is that it's putting an energy onto both of you. And this is something that's to sort of redirect that. So if anyone has any heavy intentions, it's to sort of protect both of you from this energy.
And it says, heal with simple food.
Yeah, I think that's the key for me, is that I notice now in the age of information, it is so confusing to find out what to do for your body, what to do for your health. One year, eggs are good for you. The next year, they're bad for you. There's this constantly changing information. And so people are like, well, what do I do? And so this is to take them beyond the ever-changing nutrition science into timeless principles that are from nature. And those qualities in nature won't continue to change.
It's awesome. I'm actually looking forward to trying your food and see if I can adapt to it.
Yeah. We'll have a meal together for sure.
Awesome. Well, Kosta, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
I really
brother.
appreciate it.
Same here.
Wish you the best.
You too.
And I'm sure we're going to be seeing each other